How you guys doing? Rashan Gary, Mr. Bane in town checking in. Cowboys Nation. Can't wait to get after it, man. Go Cowboys.
Well, the Cowboys are making major moves this free agency.
I think Rashan Gary going to the Cowboys is going to be a big deal for them.
On March 11th of 2026, Rashan Gary became one of the newest members of the Dallas Cowboys, making $16 million a year. But what you didn't know is that before Green Bay, before Dallas, and way before Michigan, his mom would have to be willing to sacrifice everything in order for her son to have a chance. So how did Rashan Gary go from being broke to not only becoming the CEO of his own sports agency, not only becoming a Pro Bowl pass rusher, and not only earning over $113 million, but also taking care of his mom by making her the president of his company? Well, before we get into it, hit that like button and subscribe. And with that, let's go. So here's the question you're probably asking yourself. How does a kid who is literally the most hyped recruit in America, a once-in-a-generation athlete who had college offers before he was even in high school, end up being called a bust for the first 3 years of his NFL career? And how did the Cowboys end up getting him for a 4th-round pick? Something doesn't add up. And that's because nobody's put all the pieces together up until now. Before Rashan Gary became a Dallas Cowboy, he was a Green Bay Packer. Drafted 12th overall in 2019. First round, top of the class, everybody expected fireworks. But in his rookie year, he put up 2 sacks. 2, that's it. The 12th overall pick in the NFL draft managed just 2 quarterback takedowns in 16 games. Fans wanted to know why Green Bay used a first-round pick on a guy who wasn't getting to the quarterback. National media called it a reach. Even after year 2, when he bumped it up to 5 sacks, the noise never stopped. 3 seasons at Michigan, only 9.5 total college sacks. 3 NFL seasons and still no double-digit sack year. People had already made up their minds. Rashan Gary was an athlete with no production. And that's not even the worst part. While everyone else was ripping apart his stat line, almost nobody even knew he was playing his entire rookie season with a torn labrum in his right shoulder. The news only came out days after the draft. He was managing pain nobody outside of Green Bay's building could even see. But nobody wanted to hear it. As far as the football world was concerned, Rashan Gary was just another first-round pick who couldn't produce. Just another big athletic guy without a plan. And once people decided that about you, good luck trying to change their minds. But in order for you to understand where people get his story wrong, you have to go back to where Rashan Gary actually came from. You see, Rashan Abdul Gary was born on December 3rd, 1997 in Plainfield, New Jersey. His mother, Jennifer Connie, raised him and his older sister, Nafisa, mostly by herself after his father stepped out early. Jennifer worked multiple jobs just to keep the light on, and there were actually stretches where that wasn't even enough. So picture her pulling double shifts at Keene University, then coming home to make sure her son finished his homework before he could even think about touching a football. Because Jennifer actually had one non-negotiable rule. That rule was this: if you're not on the honor roll, you ain't playing, period. You see, that rule shaped everything. By 8th grade, Rashan was already bigger than most high school seniors, 6'3" and pushing 250 pounds. Rutgers actually offered him a scholarship while he was in junior high. Junior high. A college staff watched this middle school kid at a camp and basically said, yo, we gotta lock him up right now before the rest of the country starts to see what we're seeing. He started at Scotch Plains Fanwood High School, living with his father for a little while, and then he transferred to Paramus Catholic to be back with his mother. But that move would actually light a fuse. You see, his old school accused Paramus Catholic of recruiting him. The whole thing went all the way to the state's high school athletic board, which ruled unanimously that the allegations were actually unproven. But for a 15-year-old kid and his mom, the damage was already done. Jennifer Connie had to sit through a public hearing while grown adults debated whether her son's move was even legitimate. This lady has been willing to work overtime and do double shifts to help her son, and this is kind of the stuff they putting her through. Yet once the noise died down, Rashan took off at Paramus Catholic School. Junior year, he put up 55 tackles and 14 sacks in 11 games, sacked one quarterback 5 times in 3 quarters, and returned a blocked punt for a touchdown. Senior year, he was even scarier. 55 tackles, 29 tackles for loss, 13.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, another blocked punt return for a score, all in just 9 games. And here's the crazy part. His team went 3-6 that season. It didn't even matter. Every major recruiting service ranked him the unanimous #1 player in the 2016 class. Only 2 players had ever done that before. He was the USA Today Defensive Player of the Year and MVP of the Under Armour All-American game after dropping 6 tackles and 3 sacks on the best competition in the country. His coach at Paramus Catholic was Chris Partridge. You see, Michigan hired Partridge in June of 2015 and promoted him to linebackers coach by January of 2016. On February 3rd, 2016, Rashan Gary committed to Michigan after visiting Auburn, Clemson, Ole Miss, and USC. The #1 player in America was headed to Ann Arbor to play for Jim Harbaugh. But once he got on campus, everything looked different. The kid who had dominated high school suddenly looked human. As a freshman, he played in all 13 games, but only had 23 tackles and 1 sack. Purely rotational, sitting behind older guys and learning the ropes. Sophomore year, he earned a starting job and put up 58 tackles, 11.5 tackles for loss, and 5.5 sacks. Solid, but nowhere near what people expected from the top recruit in the country. Junior year was supposed to be the breakout statement. Instead, a shoulder injury sidelined him for games in late September and all of October. He finished with just 38 tackles and 3.5 sacks. Still, he declared for the draft. Think about everything stacked against this guy. The transfer hearing that dragged his family through public scrutiny, the shoulder that robbed him of his best college season, and a stat line that never told the real story because Michigan was doubling and tripling him on almost every single snap. His own teammate Devin Bush, drafted 10th overall, flat out told reporters he would have taken Gary over himself. Tell me that doesn't say everything. Gary declared for the 2019 draft and then did something no one had ever seen before. He started his own sports agency, Rashan Gary Sports. He was only 21, walking into the biggest job interview of his life, and he chose to represent himself. His mom, Jennifer, ran the whole process, the same woman who used to keep notebooks during his college recruitment. She scheduled every visit, made sure he soaked in every moment because, as she told reporters, this only happens once in a lifetime. At the combine, he ran a 4.58-second 40-yard dash at 277 pounds, faster than some running backs in that class. His relative athletic score came back 9.95 out of 10, 98th percentile in speed, 34-inch arms, just over 6'4". He was a physical freak in every single measurable. But those college sack numbers, only 9.5 in 3 seasons. They were right there on the paper. Scouts questioned his pass rush plan and called him more disruptive than productive. They compared him to Clowney and basically said he might never put it all together. Draft night, April 25th, 2019. Gary wasn't in Nashville on the big stage. He was at a bowling alley in Ann Arbor with family, friends, and teammates. The Bills took Ed Oliver at 9. The Steelers traded up for Devin Bush at 10. The Bengals took Jonah Williams at 11. Then the phone rang. Green Bay, pick 12. Brian Gutekunst had been locked in on Gary since February, 4 months before the draft. He called him a premier athlete with an exceptional motor. Gary signed a 4-year deal worth $15.88 million with a $9.57 million signing bonus. Then days later, the news dropped. Torn labrum in his right shoulder. He played through it anyway. 2 sacks as a rookie, 5 in year 2. The bust label kept growing louder. Wasted pick, all athlete, no technique. Then 2021 changed everything. Zadarius Smith went down with a back injury and the starting job finally became Gary's full-time. No more rotation. And what happened next shut everybody up. 9.5 sacks, 81 pressures, 3rd most among all edge rushers in the league. In the playoff loss to San Francisco, he sacked Jimmy Garoppolo twice in the first half and stuffed a 4th and 1 run late. Matt LaFleur called him a game wrecker, the kind of guy who decides whether you win or lose. But just when it looked like he had arrived, the next blow came. November 6th, 2022, Ford Field in Detroit. Gary was chasing a screen, pressuring Jared Goff when his knee buckled. Torn ACL. He was so unaware of how bad it was that he played 3 more snaps before walking off. He had been on pace for his first double-digit sack season with 6 sacks through 9 games. The most emotional moment of his recovery, he later said, wasn't the pain. It was taking those first steps after surgery while his mother watched him walk to the car. He came back stronger. 9 sacks in 2023, a 4-year, $96 million extension, Pro Bowl selection in 2024 with 7.5 sacks. and then Green Bay decided they were done. Gary's second half of 2025 was rough. 0 sacks over the team's final 10 games, including the playoffs. The Packers had just pulled off a blockbuster trade to bring in Micah Parsons from Dallas and decided Gary's contract no longer matched what they were getting. On March 9th, 2026, the Cowboys traded a 2027 fourth-round pick to bring him to Dallas. Jerry Jones had said at the Combine he was willing to borrow from the future to fix that defense, and that's exactly what he did. Here's why it matters for Cowboys fans. In 2025, Dallas finished with the 30th ranked defense in the NFL. We gave up 511 points. Here's something some of you guys might not know about Christian Parker. Parker started in the NFL as a defensive quality control coach with the Green Bay Packers in 2019, the exact same year Gary was drafted. They were in the same building, same meetings, watching the same film from day one. Parker already knows exactly what Gary can do. Now Gary is reuniting with former teammate Kenny Clark, who came over in the Parsons trade, and stepping into a defensive line that already has all-pro tackle Quinnen Williams. He told reporters he's comfortable playing multiple fronts. He can line up as a defensive end in 4 or 5-man sets or stand up as an outside linebacker. He even took a pay cut, restructuring his deal down to a $5.4 million cap charge in 2026. He said it himself. There's just this whole experience and everything the Cowboys organization is putting together. I'm happy to be a part of it. Picture Rashan Gary walking through the halls of the Star for the first time, past the championship trophies, past the giant photos of legends who once wore the Star. This is a kid who got a scholarship in junior high, became the top recruit in America, got called a bust, tore his ACL, came back and signed a $96 million contract, and now he's walking to the most famous franchise in professional sports, ready to prove everyone wrong one more time. From a mom working double shifts in Plainfield, New Jersey, to a star in his helmet in Dallas, Texas, people have been counting Rashan Gary out his entire life. Every single time he came back harder. So let's not count this man out, Cowboys, and let's hope he shows up the way we're all anticipating. And with that, I'm out. Peace.